Today we will be interviewing one of Mexico's great leaders and generals, Porfirio Diaz.
Hello.
First question, when and where were you born and what was your early life like?
Well, I was born September 15th in 1830 in a small city in central Mexico called Oaxaca. I was born into a humble family, and we are mestizos, which means we are of Indian European heritage. And then I studied to become a priest, but the war started and I joined the war when I was 16 years old.
Okay, on the topic of you joining the army, in what any way did it benefit you?
Well, when I was in the army, I met a man named Benito Juarez, who kind of taught me the ways of politics during whenever I joined. And then in 1853, I passed the law exams.
After you received your degree in law, what laws were you against, and what did you use your degree for?
Well, after receiving my degree, I worked with Benito Juarez, who was a liberal, and he was against Santa Anna. Together, we used political and guerrilla tactics to try and remove him from power.
Your political beliefs led you to go against the current leader of Mexico. How did that end up for you?
Well, when Santa Anna came back to power and started persecuting liberals, many of my friends, including Benito Juarez, had to go into hiding and flee. So I escaped and began plotting Santa Anna's demise with the help from a band of liberals. And we managed to cause a revolution against Santa Anna and push him out of power for good.
After the revolution, what did you do?
After we defeated Santa Anna, Benito Juarez came out of exile, and he became the new leader, and I was his right-hand man.
What important events were you involved in during Juarez's rule?
Well, during the French invasion, near the city of Puebla, the Mexican army defeated a much larger and better equipped French army. This became the Battle of Puebla, a very well-known battle, and I led a cavalry unit and became a well-known hero and brilliant military mind serving Juarez.
How did you become president of Mexico?
Well, I started to join priesthood at an early age of 15, and this gave me benefits like speaking to crowds. I was then encouraged to study law from a previous president, Benito Juarez, who we talked about earlier. And he said it will help me in complex situations to find the best solutions based on strong reason.
Okay, Mr. Diaz, you ruled over Mexico for 3 decades. Can you tell me and the viewers what it felt like to rule Mexico for so long?
Well, to be honest, a lot of the time it was boring. After doing something for the first decade every day, it's alright. And then when you get to the second and third, it gets kind of boring. But I made sure everything was taken care of for the country. Don't get me wrong, it was very hard to keep a family life intact.
What would you consider to be your biggest accomplishment?
I would definitely say my biggest accomplishment would have to be creating a strong central government that kept Mexico in tight control.
So, Mr. Diaz, what economic policies did you put into effect while you were ruling?
Well, when I was in power, I allowed foreign mining companies, railroads, and drilling companies to come in and work.
When did the revolution start and how did it start?
Well, the revolution began in 1910, and it happened because of the citizens challenging me to try and, because I had been ruling in 34 years, which was a violation of the Constitution at the time.
So, Mr. Diaz, how did you manage to stay in power for almost 30 years?
Well, I began out by marching with the army to Mexico City, where I then held a election, election.
Yeah.
And then after that, that removed the current president, who was Sebastian Tejada, and I ruled for almost the whole 30 years. I ruled through a puppet, Manuel Gonzalez from 1880 to 1884, a short 4 years in my eyes compared to the 34 years I did under oath, not to flex, but otherwise I was always in power and managed to stay in power by using my hand-selected Congress, which allowed me to bend the laws and to cheat and manipulate elections.
Then, if you cheated and manipulated, how did you lose the election of 1910-1911?
Okay, so in the beginning of the 20th century, the economy. Shouldn't it be the 19th century?
No.
Okay, in the beginning of the 20th century, the economy started to decline, and miners and workers went on strike, which led to ideas that I had been in power for too long and began to spread with the help of newspapers and other sorts of news. But when I realized Madero was going to win, I threw him out of Mexico, but he claimed to have won the election even after I removed him from Mexico.
Oh, so what gave you the idea of retirement?
Well, in 1910, the economy was declining and the natural revenues were declining. Too many people were calling for revolutions, which just gets annoying. And they believed that they were upset about Madero winning the election in 1910 and 11. At this point, after 30 years or so, Mexico is basically back to where it was when I became president. So I just thought, what the heck, and I retired.
So, Mr. Diaz, after you retired, what did you do?
Well, I lived out my remaining days with my family in Mexico.
Thank you, Mr. Diaz.
Of course.